Havas Group, Global Head of Operation for Data and Innovation. Pierre, Raoul, it's all about data. Pierre.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Everybody can hear me well? Lots of people. I'm Pierre. I'm Global Head of Data Operation at Havas Media Group, and I'm also Global Head of DBI, which is the Data and Technology Agency within Havas Media Group. I'm really happy to be here in Warsaw. The first time for me in Poland in Warsaw. It's a really nice experience, so thank you all for welcoming me here. I will try to do my best to talk about data, because it's working, cool. Data, and I will say this, it's pretty much, with everyone agrees on this, that it's one of the best buzzwords of the last few years. And as I'm a data guy, I would like to be sure that my point can be proved with some actual facts, and you're going to help me for this. So I will ask you to help me with a quick survey with 3 small questions. So I will need your help. Can you please all stand up? I'm going to ask 3 questions, and following the answer that you have, you will be remaining up or seated. So data, I think, is a buzzword. Please be seated, the people who don't hear about data on a weekly basis. If you don't hear about data or every week, just be seated. If you hear about data every week, just remain up. Nobody's seated. OK, thanks. Second question. When you hear about data, is it about your personal life, in your personal life, or is it in your professional life? If it's your personal life, only be seated. But if you hear about data in your professional life, stood up. Nobody is seated. OK, very interesting. Fine. I tried to make easy question. Last question. If you think, when you hear about data, that you understand every time, every single thing it's talk about, please remain up. If you think really you understand everything, please remain still up. Otherwise, just be seated. We have a brave man here. Thank you. So I think I've proven something. I've sat down. I've been working in the data industry. I've been a consultant in many brands for more than 15 years. And I speak about data on a daily basis. I have some really interesting conversation with clients. And every day, I think I have to understand something more, because everybody's talking about data. We're talking about insights. We're talking about measurements. We're talking about targeting. We are talking about results, surveys. And all of this data is hidden under lots of, sometimes complexity, but also simplicity. So what I'm going to try to demonstrate here is we can follow a path to use data in the most interesting way to participate in one in Havas we believe in, meaningful, because we want to deliver meaningful experience for meaningful brands. And this goes with meaningful data, because meaningful data is the currency for the future, as you were saying before, is the fuel for the things that you want to achieve tomorrow. So how to be sure that you use meaningful data? You have to scope, because you have data everywhere. What do you really need? What is the source of data that you want to use? Where are my assets as a brand, as an agency? And there is only one answer that can be made on these questions. And as I was a consultant before, it's really easy for me. The answer is, it depends. What do you really want to achieve? You won't be having the same needs for data if you want to bring insights for a brand. that if you want to make targeting for a digital campaign, you won't be having the same needs of data for bill scores or segmentation. So if we want to be sure that you're using the right level, the right amount of data, you have to be sure on something that you want to provide. And this is what is the final end. We have to focus on a global and meaningful customer experience, because this is what we want to provide as an agency and as a brand. Be sure that our customers, our consumers, are living the best experience, because this is what they are expecting from a brand. We, as customers, not as marketers, we expect that the brand we have in front of us delivers an experience that will lead us to buy something or to convert. So this is why, as marketers, we need to focus on what is the experience that we are making our customers living. Some people would say that my speech is finished now. Could be something, but I will tell just a little story about this. This jacket has a story. My wife thought that my jacket was out of trend, so she told me for my birthday, okay, I will try to buy a new jacket. So we went to a shopping mall, and I went to a store that I knew that it would fit my taste in clothes. And we went into a store, and my wife bought me a jacket that was really nice. And I saw this jacket just aside, and I liked it really much. So I tried it on, and the size was not right. So the shopping lady went to me and said, okay, let me check into the stock if I have it. Was not possible. The size was not here, so I couldn't buy the jacket. I was a bit disappointed. And the shopping ladies told me, hold on, let's check on the website if you can have it. We took the reference. Yes, the jacket was available, and I checked on my phone. I can buy it online. And she gave me a voucher saying, hey, here's a voucher. You have 10 euros discount, and the shipping is free. You can order your jacket online. Just perfect experience. I went to a store, I had one jacket, and I have also a discount for having another one online. Just really perfect experience. So I'm going back to home, and I'm ordering with my laptop the jacket that I saw, just with the voucher, and the jacket was in my mailbox like 3 days after. Really cool experience, because I had what I wanted, and I even paid cheaper for it. So it was really cool experience, and I really the nice customer journey where I knew that brand can deliver the clothes I wanted. The shopping experience was quite nice, whereas I didn't have the jacket, and I could have the jacket delivered home just 3 days after. But for 3 weeks after that, I've got retargeting for the jacket I bought online, on my phone, on my laptop, more than 10 times a day, meaning that the first experience was really good. I bought my jacket online, and the brand was able to track that I've bought my jacket online because I've been on the store, in the mobile app, and also on my laptop on the website and purchased it. And I knew that this brand has all the data and all the tools that can prevent to have me retargeted for the exact jacket that I've bought. And this was 2 years ago, but still, on a daily basis, and it occurred to me this morning, I was retargeted for a product that I bought. So just with a quick raise hand, can you tell me if this already happened to you in the past 12 months? I should take a picture of this. So this is what is hard about data, because brands, they have the data, and they have lots of information, and they have tools. So one thing that we can learn is, yes, we have to collect the data to make the customer experience really consistent and really interesting, but making it available and useful is another thing. So we have to seek in all the things that we want to do as marketers, oriented to the customer experience, and be sure that we have the whole data that we want, that is really useful, and we have to be sure that everyone in the brand is able to use this kind of data. So not too much data, just the right one, and also making it available. And the other thing, Tools and data are not the only one, because skills and process are also the step zero that you, as a brand, need to have to be sure that, yes, you have all the information that you need, you have all the tools that are working, but if you don't have the manpower, the process to operate this kind of stuff, it's just useless. And this goes also with some other constraints that I'm sure pretty much all of you are aware of. First, we have some regulation that prevents marketers to do exactly what we want. As a global position, I see really huge difference in the market between Latin America, United States, Asia, and Europe. But it's a global trend. We're going to face some huge constraints in using all the data that we want to provide the best customer experience. And this goes also with so much data, because we have a real media consumption shift. We can watch TV in our mobile, we can purchase things in stores, on the mobiles, on desktop. It's just completely changing with Internet of Things. We are facing the beginning of lots and more information we have to analyze, and we have to take the value out of it. And also facing another constraint is that we have, due to GDPR and due to business strategy, I would say, walled gardens with the famous GAFA that sometimes prevent to retrieve all the data that we want to have, to be sure that we have the right information at the right moment. And also some other constraints, like the fact that maybe in 6 to 12 months, the cookie will be really less useful than it is today. So we have lots of challenges. What do we need to focus on? What are the key challenges? The first of all would be the value. As we have lots of data, we are to be sure that we use the right ones to bring value to the brands and to the customers. And be sure also that we use it with lots of effectiveness and that we don't lose ourselves in something that doesn't bring any value to the brand or to the customers. And we also have to be sure that we are making this with consistency, because consistency is the baseline of a great customer experience, and this is what we are seeking. And that's that leads to another concept to ensure consistency, which is not that quite known, which is sovereignty. So let me develop on this. Value, it's the right data and the right volume. Basically, describing what is the data available can be made this way. It's not the only way. I don't have the ownership on this kind of stuff, but I try to make it this way. We have first-party data that is the most valuable, the most known, the most easy to have for a brand, that we know exactly where the data is coming from, what is the value, and what transformation the data can have. You have second-party data that you can get from business partners, where you know exactly where the data is coming from, you know exactly what is the rule of transformation that you get, and you know exactly how you can get it activated. And you have third-party data that is suffering a bit from the constraints that we're facing today, that show maybe less volume in the recent past due to GDPR, but also show maybe more value because it's more accurate and more precise. So what is important here is that for the past, it was quite hard sometimes to mix first-party data, second-party data, and third-party data. What the digital and the technology provided us is the opportunity to make the link between the different types of data. And today we're facing something is that we absolutely need to make the link to be sure that Pierre, when he's on mobile phone or in desktop or in other devices, we need to be sure that this is Pierre that you're talking about, or maybe your ID and not someone else. This is the baseline. So digital is one of the first I would say, to build the link between all the identity that the data can have and the individual can have. And this is really important, and this is maybe one key for the future, is making sure that all brands that want to activate customer, whatever the media they want to activate on, make the link between the different IDs that drives the different channels. And this link is really important, and it's also important that the brands take the ownership of this identity link to be sure, absolutely sure, that the different link made between the different IDs are the right ones and is going to last in the duration for the future. Effectiveness. One thing is that data-driven strategy, and I don't know if you guys have the opportunity to make this kind of stuff, can sometimes be a bit complex to put in place. We hear about data management platform, customer data platform, second-party deals. It's a bit complicated because you have new concepts to integrate, you have new skills also, you have new process to put in place, and sometimes it's a bit costly. So when you implement this kind of strategy, you have to be sure you don't make it for nothing, and you can bring value and effectiveness to the campaigns you want to activate. So you're absolutely sure that we need to measure what the attempts that you are trying to do. And you have also to be sure that all the initiatives that you're making, it's maybe small at the beginning to be sure you're making the right thing, and then things have some scale. So I'm just putting here an example. Here it is. With a bank that I've worked with in France, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they wanted to implement a data strategy that can help the bank to have insights on what was the customer life status of their clients, and especially the clients who were about to move. Because they wanted to be sure that if the client is moving, they won't be losing it to another bank. Quite smart thinking, I would say. It could be really interesting. So they wanted to track on their website all the intention of moving by consulting the web pages of the website of the bank that were talking about moving. And they tracked the activity for 2 months, and at the end, they built a segment of customers who were about to move and activated in 2 ways. First, a digital campaign for the customer that did not have the email, and they then also activate an email to send to the client to say, "You're moving, we have something for you." And all the message were going to a landing page on the website saying, "If you're moving, please contact this person." What was the result of this? They put in place a huge process, maybe more than 12 persons, and 2 months of tracking to build a segment where they had 755 individuals. They activate 500 IDs on digital campaigns, and they have 2 people being on the landing page, and they sent an email to 112 persons, and they have 54 people opening the email and going to the landing page. And we had 12 persons working on this for more than 2 months, plus the DMP, plus. So at the end, how can we be presenting the results properly? They said, okay, this is really a good campaign because we have the best opening rates in the email, more than 55%. Yes, but it was only for 50 people. And we have really a good rate, a good click-through rate, and a good conversion rate. It was from 1.8% up to 2.5%. Yes, good conversion rate, yes, indeed. But what was the CPA? It grew from 32 euros up to 175 euros. So here's the point. When we are trying to make data-driven activity and activation, we have to be sure that we have enough volume, to be sure that all the costs that goes through a data activation strategy is worthy with the volumes that you have to activate. And you also have to be sure what is the KPI that will measure your campaign, because for this example, they choose the KPI that was could be interesting for them, but the main KPI with the CPA was not really interesting because it was 5 times more. Other thing, consistency. Remember the story of the jacket? I was retargeting for 15 days. No, sorry. So yes, we have to look after the consumer journey with all the channels that we have. We are a media agency, but we have also to be in charge of the customer journey, and this goes with the other channels. And it's really interesting to see that all the customers that we are in front of a brand that is delivering messages in several channels. So about the jacket stories, I was retargeted for 3 weeks after I bought the jacket, but I was also receiving emails. And I've counted them because it was really lots of emails. For the past 45 days after I've bought my jacket, I received from this brand 53 emails. 53. I counted them. I had nothing to do on this day. 53 emails. So what is the point of having someone converting if you're just spamming him for more than 52 days, and they did not even check that I had never read the emails, and sometimes deleted directly, and they had the data over it. So we have to be looking at the customer journey and searching for all the signals that we can have, and digital is helping us a lot in this orientation to have all the information. How does the consumer, the customer, is reacting to the media campaigns that we are activating? Digital enables us to have this kind of information because we have lots of tools within the brand that can help deliver CRM activation, digital activation, personalization on websites, activation on the mobile, etc., etc. We just have to be aware of something. Customer is the, I call this like this way, I don't know if it's English or not, the unique receiver point of all activation. But sometimes in the brands, there's some silos. Sometimes we don't have to say this word because it's not really politically correct. But yes, it's the operational reality in the brands. The marketing director, the digital director, and the operational sometimes don't speak to each other. So how can we be sure that the way that marketing is dealt in media or in direct marketing will be consistent to the customer, which is the unique receiver point? And this is the last point, I would say, is convergence. I think that I'm using all the buzzwords here, ad tech, martech, convergence, but this is, I would say, the reality of today and tomorrow, and it's not that easy, and thanks to data, this is how it can be an operational reality between ad tech and martech. The jacket story is really about this. I was in store, I went to the internet, and I was reactivated with digital ad campaigns and also by emails. The brand was not able to deal with this because they did not make the link between the ad tech and the martech. But the future of tomorrow for the brand is to be sure that we can ensure consistency between the different channels where we activate the customer. Because the customer, the unique receiver point, has only one brain, which is his database. So the brands have to be sure that we have all the data in a single location, if possible, with the constraints that we're facing, but we can ensure this, it's possible, to ensure the consistency, the reach and frequency capping, for instance, to the audience exclusion, some experience like this that can be quite easily made, and that brings this consistency that makes the difference at the end for the customer experience. Because this is really important to be sure that we use the information we know about our customer. We know some stuff. It's not that complicated. And once we can use all that we know for the customer to believe and build consistent customer experience, we have to be sure that we use it wisely. Why? I'm going to make you another experience. Sorry about this. Can you take your mobile phone, please? I not invented it, sorry about this. Maybe you've already seen it, but I think it's really, really interesting. Can you unlock your smartphone? Yeah? Give it to your right neighbor. I just love this experience. I've not invented it, but I just love this experience. Do you feel a bit uncomfortable? Don't check the photos. Okay, experience is over. This is the kind of feeling that the customer will feel if the brands don't use the data properly. This meaning that GDPR is maybe seen as a constraint, but also seen for the customers as an opportunity to be sure the brands use the data in the right way, in the right direction. So we need to avoid this feeling in the customer for a brand. We need to be sure that brand is absolutely using the data the right way to be sure they provide the consistent customer journey, respecting the value of the data and the regulation. So it's about sovereignty. The key is to make sure customers are not feeling exactly the same feeling that you just felt 30 seconds away. And this is that the brands need to own the data they're using. They need to own the sources to know exactly where the data are coming from and what is also the flows of data. It's not about only collecting to be sure I'm activating the right campaign. Yes, where the data is coming from, do I use it wisely, and where the data is headed, what am I doing with my data as a brand? So I've said many, many things, sorry about this, but what is the best move on the next move on data? I've been talking about this all along the slides, is first-party data. Because of the prevent of tracking on digital, because of the regulation, I really believe that first-party data is a future for all the brands to be used on the media side, but also on the direct marketing side, to be sure that we use the most relevant data that can be helpful in bringing a consistent customer journey also, but also have a real customer-centric approach. What do our customers feel? Why are they here? Why did they come to us as a brand? We need to rely on this kind of data and use them in every kind of activation we are doing for the clients, because these are solid facts we can use for the customers. Other thing I've not talked about for the moment is logged-in environment. Because tracking prevention will maybe put to an end the cookie era in some month. Maybe we have trouble having other types of data. It's important for brands to ensure the logged-in environment in the digital ways to be sure that we can gather the most concrete information on the digital behaviors on the brands. The third recommendation is take control of ideas. As I said before, you have different data sources, multiple type of data providers that can bring lots of information, but you can't compare carrots and pears. You can mix dogs and cats. So to be sure that all the data that you can have bring a real value, you have to be sure that the different IDs that drive the data sources can match between each other. A bit technical, not easy to understand, but we can implement this kind of thing quite easily. Many brands are doing so. And at the end, it's also about skills and organization. It's an ownership that the brands can have with their partners to be sure that all the skills needed to use data, implement the technology, and use them on a daily basis can be in-housed and make things operational with all the partners that the brands have. Thank you very much.